Hello and welcome. My name is Dr. Alan Lawrence. For many couples, being able to plan pregnancies is an important part of maintaining control over their lives. This is the issue we will discuss in the series Contraception, Pregnancy Prevention. In this program, number 1, we will look at the basics of birth control. This program is being presented by Health Education Associates of Palm Springs, California. In subsequent programs, we will look at the pros and cons of various methods of contraception, as well as their values and limitations. What is contraception? Contraception is usually considered the prevention of conception, hence pregnancy. It is also known as birth control, and in many places as family planning. What are contraceptives? Any process, device, or method that prevents, interferes with, or interrupts conception and or implantation of a fertilized egg within the uterus. Why use contraception? Initially, this might sound like a simple question, but a strict answer is often conflicted with a host of other factors such as faulty and true beliefs, differences of opinions, risks, benefits, religion, and morality. Most simplistically, we would say a contraception method is one that is used to prevent unwanted pregnancies, the ability to control when an individual woman or couple are ready and desire to become pregnant, to prevent the need for an abortion, and to maintain control over one's life and overall well-being. To best understand contraception, we should look at the female endocrine system first. In this slide, we represent the female endocrine system. A woman's ability to reproduce relies on the ability of her endocrine system to work effectively. The process of conception starts within her pituitary gland, which sits at the base of her brain. The pituitary gland releases a series of reproductive hormones. These hormones are neurochemicals, which act on her reproductive organs. They create the selection and development of a single egg cell, ovulation, and the preparation of her uterus for pregnancy. These hormones control her ability to reproduce. One of the main reproductive hormones is follicle-stimulating hormone, or FSH. It stimulates selection of a single egg cell in one ovary to develop and ultimately be released so that it can be fertilized and pregnancy can occur. At around the mid-menstrual cycle, the pituitary gland then releases luteinizing hormone, or LH. LH then triggers ovulation, the release of the newly developed, ready-to-be fertilized egg from the ovary. FSH stimulates the production of estrogen by the ovary, and estrogen acts on the endometrial lining of the uterus to begin preparation to allow and support implantation and pregnancy if and when an egg has been fertilized. LH acts to complete the changes needed to ensure implantation and stimulate the release of another ovarian hormone, progesterone. Progesterone ensures that the implanted egg can take hold and grow into a fetus. Here in the next slide on female anatomy, we see the relative positions of the female reproductive organs. In order to understand the role of various types of contraceptive methods, it helps greatly to have an understanding of the positions and the role of each female reproductive organ. In this diagram, we see the uterus, fallopian tubes, the ovaries, the cervix, and the vagina in both front and side views. Please note that the position of each of these organs they will help you to better understand how some valuable contraceptive methods can work for you. Here we see the normal female reproductive system anatomy. At the bottom of the uterus is the cervix. It protrudes into the vagina, where it is placed to catch sperm cells which have been ejaculated into the vagina. The uterus above the cervix is divided into three parts: the corpus, or body of the uterus, the endometrial lining of the uterus, which is shed if pregnancy does not occur, and also acts to allow implantation of the fertilized egg if pregnancy does occur. And at the top, on each side of the uterus, are the fallopian tubes, which allow sperm and egg to meet. In the next slide, we will look at one of these fallopian tubes and how it captures a post-ovulation egg, which has just been ejected from the ovary at ovulation. The goal is to bring this egg into the tube where it can eventually be fertilized. Each month, one egg is selected to develop and be released. This is often referred to as ovulation, so it can be ultimately fertilized so that a pregnancy can occur. Here we see an egg busting out of the right ovary. It will soon be captured by the right tube and start its journey either to be fertilized or not. Here in the next slide, we see the hairy fingers that make up the fimbriated end of the fallopian tube moving to surround the area of the ovary which is about to eject a chosen egg. The ovulation and capture of the ovulated egg initiate an arduous journey for that egg. Hormonal changes created by estrogen and progesterone have been taking place since the completion of the last menstrual period. Under the effect of these changes, the uterus and the endometrial lining are now preparing for the possibility that a fertilized egg will ultimately reach and implant in the endometrium. When this happens, pregnancy occurs, and now one or more fetus can develop and grow into fully developed babies. At the very bottom of the uterus, once again, we see the cervix. It is through this cervix that the newly developed baby will pass during labor and delivery to be born. In this next diagram, we see the usual path of the egg from the ovary through the fallopian tube into the uterus. If fertilization and impregnation do not occur, the egg will not implant and will ultimately die, break down, and finally be eliminated during menstruation. We next move to fertilization, and in this slide we see two processes occurring at the same time. They may occur simultaneously, or they may occur entirely independent of each other. In the center, we see the blue arrow representing deposition of sperm in the vagina. The sperm travel upward into the cervix. Once within the uterus, the sperm cells travel up toward the fallopian tube, where they will enter into the left fallopian tube, while others will enter into the right fallopian tube. To the right of the midline, we see the fallopian tube with an egg traveling up toward the uterus. In this diagram, we suggest that the egg is fertilized when a single sperm cell merges and joins with, entering into the egg cell to form one unit, a now fertilized egg, from which a brand new human being will ultimately develop and grow. Also in this diagram, we see approximately where, under usual circumstances, an egg might be fertilized by sperm swimming upstream and into and through the fallopian tube, where the egg is moving upward and toward the uterus. Here we see the path of the recently fertilized egg as it now moves forward along the fallopian tube toward one of two destinies. One, to ultimately implant within the endometrium and develop into a fetus, or two, to end up lost, either unable to implant or to miscarry. Implantation. Here we see that an egg has been fertilized and continues to move up the fallopian tube until it reaches the uterine cavity, where it now looks for and finds a good place to land in order to burrow into the endometrial lining, allowing implantation and, of course, pregnancy. Once the egg has landed and burrowed into the endometrium, it immediately begins to develop into a fetus. In order to prevent pregnancy, your goal is to find and correctly use an appropriate method of contraception to prevent one or more of these three steps: ovulation, fertilization, or implantation from taking place. One reason for presenting these past slides is to demonstrate that this is a natural process and that normal female anatomy is designed to facilitate its working and working correctly. Understand this and exactly what is happening and why it is happening will help you to find the right method of contraception for you and help you to understand how and why it will work for you. As we move forward, we will discuss the most commonly used methods of pregnancy protection, and we may from time to time refer back to female anatomy to provide you with information on how you can use the specific method we are talking about at that time. Ovulation. In this slide, we see the release of follicle-stimulating hormone, which leads to the production and release of the female hormone estrogen. At or around the mid-cycle, usually about 12 to 14 days before the onset of the next menstrual period, LH is released. At this time, LH, luteinizing hormone, acts to trigger ovulation. Once ovulation occurs, a corpus luteum cyst begins to produce progesterone. This acts to prepare the uterus for implantation and pregnancy. If pregnancy doesn't occur, menstruation will follow. The lack of implantation and pregnancy signals the last cycle is over. The woman's body will repeat this process over and over again, causing ovulation and preparing the uterus and the entire body for the next opportunity to become pregnant. This will occur from the onset of menstruation through the conclusion of her menopause. Stages of menstruation. In this slide, we see the menstrual cycle from a slightly different perspective, that of the ovary above and the lining of the uterus below. Observing both, one on top of the other, we can now see how they are synchronized and why they can work so effectively. When we talk about birth control pills, we will discuss how this cycle mechanism is interfered with so that the production of FSH and LH, estrogen, ovulation, and fertilization are all interfered with, which leads to blockage of ovulation, fertilization, and implantation. When even one of these occur, pregnancy can be prevented. In summary, the main goal for using contraception is the prevention of unwanted pregnancies or for creating the exact proper time for becoming pregnant, that is, family planning. These goals can be accomplished in one or more of four following ways: blocking or stopping ovulation, preventing implantation, and interfering with the ability of the fetus to survive or grow. If you have questions about which of these methods of contraception will work best for you, 1. Watch programs number 2 and number 3 for additional answers. 2. Ask your doctor. If pregnancy is an issue for you, use contraception and have the best and happiest family you can. Thank you for watching our Health Education Associates program, Contraception, Pregnancy Prevention, program number 1, The Basics of Birth Control. Watch for program number 2 in our Contraception Pregnancy Prevention series, Natural and Barrier Contraception Methods. This program was written and narrated by Dr. Alan Lawrence, edited by Dr. Lisa Robin Lawrence, and it was produced and directed by Drs. Alan Lawrence and Drs. Lisa Robin Lawrence together. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.